Welcome to Post Sports and Lambo's World Sports Center by Solid Sports Network. There's been some breaking news here. There's a lot of things going on with the Northwestern football program, with hazing and all that stuff. At first, it looks like Pat Fitzgerald was suspended for a minimum of 2 weeks, but it looks like Northwestern will reconsider um, the penalties for the coach after they had new details that came out yesterday. There was a lot of things with this whole hazing thing, and it's pretty terrible for the players. So I have a lot of sympathy for the players, but as far as the coach with the hazing stuff, it's pretty stupid, and I think he needs to get fired. And I'm losing respect for some of these coaches out of college with all this hazing and stuff. The university president Michael Schill, in a letter that was sent that he may have erred in weighing the appropriate sanction for Fitzgerald, who was serving a 2 week suspension, unpaid suspension that was started on Friday. Fitzgerald's suspension was among the measures Northwestern announced after concluding a 6 month investigation that's commissioned into hazing allegations made by an anonymous player. So there was a former player who allegations were detailed in a report on Saturday for the Daily Northwestern that told ESPN that he shared his thoughts with experiences on Sunday morning in a conversation with the president. And then he wrote in a letter that he had spoken with the former player's family and he had attempted to reach the player, adding that he had apologized and was moved by what he heard from the family and by the impact that the hazing had on his son while he was at Northwestern. He was extremely receptive throughout the conversation. He stated that in the meeting later that he believed that the board they're going to revisit the topic and see what best course of action will be taking place to eradicate this behavior. It's easy. Fire the man. I mean, there's no other way. You don't get away with stuff like this. You need to fire the man. He needs to go. The president will speak with Northwestern's board of trustees and other university members to determine a new penalty for Fitzgerald. He's been the team's head coach since 2006 and two-time National Defensive Player of the Year for the Wildcats. He's determining an appropriate penalty for the head coach. He admitted he focused too much on what the report included. He didn't know and not enough of what he should have known. As the head coach of one of our athletic programs, Coach Fitzgerald is not only responsible for what happens within the program, but also must take great care to uphold institutional commitment to the student experience. Currently, he failed to uphold that commitment, and I failed to significantly consider that failure in levying a sanction. So maybe was part of it, his assistant head coach doing that. But according to reports, mostly the head coach did that. So we'll see how that goes. It was early Saturday morning. Northwestern told ESPN that it would not comment on the specific allegations beyond the executive summary of the investigation that was released on Friday. Sources with direct knowledge of the matter told ESPN that investigators were already aware of the allegations outlined by the former player. The former player, who was anonymous, told the Daily Northwestern that sexualized hazing activities took place in the team's locker room. One common practice called running, involving a younger player being restrained while 8 or 10 other older players engaged in sexual act in the locker room. Versions of the plays took certain portions of this year, including Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like I said, it was a shocking experience as a freshman to see your fellow freshman teammates get ran. Then you see everybody boxing in the locker. The former player told the Daily Northwestern that it's very abrasive and barbaric culture that has permeated throughout the program for years and going now. According to the newspaper, a former player reported his claims to the school in late 2022. He spoke to the investigators during a 6 month university commission probe that the school said the hazing claims could have been largely supported and that there had been significant opportunities to discover and report what had happened, but investigators did not find enough evidence to prove coaches knew about the activities. Investigations also received various perspectives on the conduct following interviews with current and former players. Fitzgerald's suspension was one of several actions implemented by Northwestern. Other measures included no more preseason practices off campus in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where some of the alleged hazing occurred, in a new football locker room monitor who will not report to Fitzgerald or his staff. Their first priority in Northwestern is to support and protect students, including a young man who brought these matters to our attention, and all student athletes who had the courage to come forward this independent investigation. This is why the university immediately opened its investigation upon learning the allegation and why they took decisive action once we once they ascertained the facts. Also, in a separate statement that was sent to ESPN from the Northwestern football program, the players denounced hazing while pronouncing their support for Fitzgerald as unwavering commitment for the team. They want to reiterate the representatives of Northwestern football program. We do not tolerate hazing in any form. Hazing goes against our values of respect, integrity, and personal growth. We are committed to fostering a supportive and inclusive environment that promotes the well-being of development of every individual on their team. I'm just out of all this stuff coming out, I think Pat Fitzgerald is going to get fired. There's no sympathy for this. It's bad. You have former players coming out. All this weird stuff you do at training camp is really dumb. Um, and what are you getting out of this hating stuff? Do you lose control of the team? I mean, what happened? I mean, I think Pat Fitzgerald needs to go. Northwestern, like I said, he's a terrible head coach for Northwestern. He's the worst head coach in Northwestern football. His record is 110 and 101 since being the head coach in 2006. He has had a lot of losing seasons. He had his first losing season in 2006. He had his second one in 2011. Then in 2013 and 2014. And then he had a losing record in 2019, 2021, and 2022 in his past season when Northwestern went 1-11. I think it's time for the man to go. He's fired. Northwestern football is very competitive at times. But at the same time, I think, he got a long-term deal. He was first, I think he was a candidate to go to the NFL back in 2020 in COVID when they played Ohio State. I think in the Big Ten championship or whatnot at the time. I've just lost respect for Pat Fitzgerald, and I have nothing else to say along that. So Pat Fitzgerald will get fired. It will be first reported by Lambeau's World of Sports. He will get fired. It's just a matter of time when he gets fired. But he would get fired with all this hazing and all these reports that come out, and it just out of the reports that Total Pole Nation has read and heard about with the sources, it's just very sickening that the player, what certain players went through in that scenario. So Pat Fitzgerald, you'll get fired. I hope you get fired. I've no longer had any respect for you, and with your somewhat okay mediocre record, I hadn't had any respect for you at all as a coach. So I wouldn't want you near, high school coaching if you're in the haze. So you need to be careful about that. So Pat Fitzgerald will get fired. It's just a matter of time. So thank you, Total Pro Nation. Please like, comment, subscribe. This is Lambeau's World of Sports, presented by Sideline Sports Network. We will tune in later on. See you later.